As plans may be in this world, in this life, sometimes plans may go awry. Unfortunately, a little miscommunication. It's been a long day, guys, but we're supposed to record Union Smack, brand new, which I'm sure we're going to do tomorrow night, but instead, unable to do that tonight. Found a good pally at my side, always willing and ready to go. Was supposed to be our guest, so the cat's out of the bag now, but our guest, so look for it this week on Union Smack, the Prodigal One Jay and I decided to pay tribute to one of our all-time favorite high flyers as kids and as adults, I would say. The 123 Kid, right here on Hibiki High Spots, random live stream. Thank you guys who would happen to stop by. Last second promotional stuff. But Jay, my man, haven't seen you since the post show. It's been a minute, but how's it going? Welcome back, and what's going on? Are you there?
I'm not really sure what you just said. You're breaking up really bad, bro.
Take two, Hibiki High Spots live, spontaneous live stream. Before I get a long-winded attempt at an intro again, Jay, the Prodigal One Jay, my man, welcome back right here on Hibiki TV. Can you hear me, first of all? I don't know if we're experiencing technical issues or not. Jay,
Hello?
are you there?
Yes.
Jay
Yes, I
can
can
hear
you.
me finally this time. Guys, we have successfully figured things out after a hiccup.
They can't keep us down.
You cannot keep us down. They kept the intro music down. I think that's what it was. They just could not handle the greatness of the 123 Kids theme music. What a great fucking goddamn entrance theme. But we'll get to that. Now let me properly get the introduction since Jay, can you still hear me?
Absolutely.
All right. Welcome to Hibiki High Spots Live. It was so good to have Jay on our Money in the Bank post show for Slam Pigs podcast. I decided to do this spontaneously as plans will be in life, plans will go awry. I was supposed to record Union Smack, reviewing Nitro episode 1. The cat out of the bag. Now, Jay was supposed to be our special guest that we were keeping top secret, but nope, we kind of blown our cover. But look for that this week with Jay. But to make up, we were both bored. We both, shout out to Matt with time zones. He can't help falling asleep. No worries. We'll get that done tomorrow or the next day. Someday this week whenever Jay can, hopefully, Jay, you can make it. But we decided to pay tribute to one of our all-time favorite high flyers as a kids, as adults. The 123 Kid Memory Special right here on a rare Hibiki High Spots episode. But Jay, real quick, where are my manners? How silly of me. For those that didn't catch you on the Money in the Bank post show, where can everyone check you out? Your awesome network you're affiliated with, your pallies, and everything you guys do and what you're about.
Yep. So I'm part of the Wrestling World Podcast Network, or for short, WWPN. I can be reached on Twitter at WWPNJB, and our website is thewwpn.com. Very simple. We do podcasts on really, if anything is in the squared circle, we do podcasts on it. All the WWE products, New Japan, TNA, ROH, just everything. We're also on YouTube. You can search us on YouTube, Wrestling World Podcast Network. We have a lot of shows going on, so yeah, definitely check us out.
And guys, it's quality stuff. They have trivia shows now. They cover everything, and you definitely will be satisfied to stop by there. And of course, check out Slam Pigs Podcast, Cruise Control, and Union Smack. Also, the reset button right here on Big TMD. Hit that like and subscribe. Comment down below. But Jay, the real deal why we're here, man, you just said New Japan, ROH, and stuff like that. The guy we're talking about today, the 123 Kid, Sean Waltman, and we're just going to focus on the kid, guys. We're not going to talk X-Pac. We're not going to talk X-Factor and all that jazz. We're here to talk about the goodness, the glory days. A lot of guys would say this is a trailblazer for what we see today. Now, you could, in America, to see that in America, because God knows in Japan with Liger and guys like that, even before, they've been doing this kind of style for years. But to translate that over here, Kid was the first guy, I would say, to be prominently featured as his size in the Land of Giants, for one. Anybody before that stick out to you? To be taken in a serious booking role before the Kid and WWF at that time? Because I don't really recall any.
In WWF, no. WCW, sure, but WWF, no. I mean, you could make a fair argument. He was the original Super Junior or Cruiserweight, or whatever word you want to use as far as WWF goes.
Yeah. From Minnesota, I know Sean Waltman trained with Jerry Lynn, if I'm correct off the top of my head. I know they're real tight. They came up together, I'm pretty sure. They kind of went their
Yeah,
separate ways though. Jerry Lynn, he would get noticed in well, he started in Smoky Mountain, but he went to WCW as Mr. JL. They put him under a terrible mask and gimmick, but
I remember that.
the Lightning Kid, as we talked about off air, that we're such nerds, we both remember exactly what that means in that gimmick. That's essentially, I mean, he had a couple before that, but as Lightning Kid, I remember back in the day, Jay, seeing these bootleg leg tapes, these ECW bootlegs about like the best of Sabu and and I remember seeing the Lightning Kid versus Sabu in like 92 or 93, right before he came. And it was, for a Sabu match, it wasn't that botchy, which, how often can we say that? But it was good. And God, people don't realize, people that just were introduced, to Sean Waltman in the Attitude Era, what this guy was capable of when he was still healthy before the neck injuries and stuff. In this time, Jay, mind blowing. He was so good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember the first time I ever saw him, it wasn't even ECW or WWF. You're from Philly, so you might have had this. There was a channel.
I'm not.
I don't remember what the channel was, but it's the same channel that I accidentally found ECW on, and it was wrestling. It wasn't WWF or WCW or ECW, and I'm like, what is this? And there's this guy in the ring, and the back of his singlet or whatever you want to call it said L Kid. Obviously, it's Lightning Kid.
Yeah.
It was actually GWF, but I had absolutely no idea what the hell GWF was at the time. And that was the only time I ever seen it. But I saw this guy, but that was my first memory of him until I saw him again on on WWF television.
He was definitely when you hear the term journeyman wrestler, that's what he was until he got a shot at the big time. I'm actually not from Philly. I'm from Maryland. I'm like, I would say from where I was born, I'm like 45 minutes from Baltimore, even where I live now.
My bad. I don't even know why I just said that.
I don't know. Well, maybe because like 20 of our fucking friends are from PA in our group chat alone, and it's hard to keep up. I don't know. I got a
That's
bunch of
probably
friends. It's so weird for all the people I meet on YouTube. So many from Philly, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, you obviously, as I did as a kid, we didn't watch the Lightning Kid on the Indies. We didn't buy the bootleg Sabu tapes. We like everyone else, he debuted on Raw. Like we would see him as a job guy. I do remember a couple times before this, maybe as Superstars or something. Jay, I don't know
yes.
exactly where he wrestled.
Yeah, he did a lot of jobber spots, but I don't think neither of us, being nerds as we are, can ever forget that one evening on Monday night.
And
I can never forget that.
Yeah,
that
now
episode.
that we mentioned that, like from one of the documentaries on the Attitude Era or something, I'm remembering like they called him the Cannonball Kid one week, and then just like the Kid, and then something dumb. They just kept giving him different names when he was just a job guy. But yes, the night we all remember when he was on Monday Night Raw against Razor Ramon, a heel Razor Ramon at the time, which, my God, you talk about anybody at the time where it needed a babyface turn, it was Razor Ramon, and they eventually did that. But the Kid, man, nobody saw this coming, got the upset, and what was everyone assumed to be a job match, like we just said, the Cannonball Kid, all that stuff you saw in Superstars. This was so out of left field at the time. I think the only reason looking back that maybe people could have seen it coming is because they tried to get people talking about their new show on Mondays. Other than that, because they tried to do a lot of shock value in the early Raw days, a lot of it was bad. Rob Bartlett, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, he's horrible.
But yeah, this made me as a kid. I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old when this happened, Jay. I don't know how old you were, but this made him instantly one of my favorite guys because that underdog gimmick, when done right, like even on you've been on one show, but I think we've talked about it, say it all the time. The underdog gimmick is one of the most over things in wrestling if done correctly, and it was done correctly here.
Absolutely, and you kind of said it earlier. At this time in WWF, it was the world of the big guys, and I remember this day. I just want to talk real quick about this exact day, and I remember this day like it was yesterday, and I don't know why. But I remember I had a horrible headache for some reason, and I might have been like 10 years old. I don't remember what year this happened. It might have been like 93, so I would have been about 10 years old. And I remember I had a horrible headache, and I was laying down watching this, and I'm like, okay, it's Razor Ramon versus random jobber guy. Obviously, you obviously know who's gonna go over. And I remember him hitting the moonsault and getting the 1, to 3, and I remember instantly my headache went away, and I had like a rush of adrenaline because I'm like, what did I just watch here? Because prior to that, I only remember twice a jobber ever winning a match, and both times it was against $1 Million Man, and it was during like WrestleMania 7, like his angle with Virgil and stuff, and it was countouts. I never seen a jobber pin a superstar, so I was like, what the hell happened? And I don't know if you remember this as well. It's the same night that some random guy came out of the crowd because they were going for shock value and challenged Shawn Michaels for the IC title and won. And that random guy happened to be Marty Jannetty. It was the same episode.
And that match actually, that Marty and Shawn match, I remember like PWI gave it match of the year that year. It was that
Did it?
that
Wow.
it did. That Raw episode was so hot shotted, but they needed it because it was a new show. Like we talk about 205 all the time. You got to do that shit sometimes. But with the kid, and by the way, shout out to our good friend Jay and I's Kristen in the chat stopping by, saying Happy 4th of July. Technically, it is 4th of July, so Happy 4th of July, guys. This is our tribute to America.
One, two, three, kid
The
says
moonsault
America.
the moonsault that he beat the kid, beat Razor with, excuse me, wasn't the prettiest. It was a little Bigelow-ish, but he got the job done. It during the match, obviously Razor just beat the piss out of the kid. You could tell that that was the receipt for having to eat the pin here. And Scott Hall, notoriously a young Jeff Hardy, he would rib the young guys all the time, but he was fair at the end of the day. He wasn't a bully. He was just bringing them up the way he was brought up, I guess, at the end of it. But these two obviously became super tight book storyline wise after this. Pretty much sewn at the hip after this. Kind of reminds me of Enzo and Cass a little bit with the small big guy in a way. You know what I mean? But I think after this, the kid went to SummerSlam '93 against IRS and jobbed. During this time, though, over the years, we've seen tons of shoot interviews with Sean Waltman and whatnot and stories. For a photo shoot, the infamous story where the 123 kid went for his first Hasbro action figure, Jay, and like the night before or something, he got his eyebrows shaved. And on the cover to this day, he has no eyebrows, and it's fucking hilarious. And he's got a bad mullet. But
I
what did
remember that.
you what did you think the partnership with Scott Hall was? It like peanut butter and jelly for you?
You mean like when they became friends, or you mean the feud?
Either or, like when they work together. Do you prefer it more when they
So
work together or against each other?
no, I mean honestly, like right now in the current era, we always talk about storylines and how like storylines aren't thought out and they're not well laid out. There's storyline that they had, and I remember like he got the upset victory over Scott Hall, or Razor Ramon, I should say, and then every week Razor Ramon came out and was off. I think he first offered him like $1,000 or $5,000, and once he said no, and then he said like 5,000. He said no, and then he said like 10,000, and then he finally agreed. They had the match, and some point in the match, he goes for his big finisher, the moonsault. Razor Ramon kicks out. 123 Kid says, "Fuck this." He grabs the money and just hightails out of the damn arena with a limo waiting. Or I think it was a limo or a regular car. I don't remember. It might have been a regular car. Jumps in the car and just hightails out of there. That was just really good television, and they always had great chemistry. Even later on, when the roles were reversed and Razor Ramon was a face and 123 Kid joined $1 Million Corporation and turned heel, they always had great chemistry.
And that's why you're my go-to 123 Kid guy. I totally forgot that footnote. He beat Ted DiBiase right after the Ramon match, and I totally glossed over that. So thank you, Jay, for backtracking me there, because that needs to be noticed here. Because I remember that pin too as a kid. Like I popped huge as a kid. Like DiBiase laid on him like a lazy man's cover, and the kid just rolled him up. It was great. I mean, you kind of saw
Yes,
that coming
yes.
by now. You knew that one was going to happen, but it was still good. It got over. Then the kid would go on to form teams with like Marty Jannetty, Bob Holly. Would win the gold with both of those guys. But before that, there was like SummerSlam Survivor Series '93, where like the kid was on Razor's team. And I remember it vividly. Remember in that match, Diesel just like picking the kid up for a choke. And this is why the kid stands out to me to this day. He was so good at selling, like a Bret Hart. It
Yes.
just reminds me of selling like Bret Hart so much. I just remember Diesel launching him though. But and it just the way the kid sold it stick. I can picture it in my mind right now, like I'm watching it.
It was perfect because he was a great seller, but because he was so small compared to everybody else, every move looked brutal. Especially Diesel being like 3 times his size, or so it was portrayed. It just looked amazing.
Yep. It's just a testament to a guy, and obviously a guy you got to be tough in the land of giants at the time. You would see like Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels stepping up. Bret Hart obviously had won the title by then, but at the end of the day, like Vince, Vince and the big guys, but for some reason, Vince just always, something about the kid to Vince stuck out to him all these years. Like, kid even talks about today how close him and Vince have been. And, like, he was one of the most reliable times for Vince. At certain times, in the company. It's been a long day, guys. Just, like, I don't know, for advice and, like, a father figure to him. But, I don't know. What is your preferred version of the 1-2-3 Kid? Like, you remember when we went $1 Million Corporation Evil Kid? Which was dumb.
Yes.
That was dumb. But we did get to see him, let his heel shine, which will come into play later on. So it did work out. But what was your favorite incarnation of the Kid?
Just for nostalgic reasons, the original, 1-2-3 Kid underdog upset, blue and yellow,
No eyebrows.
singlet. No, yeah, exactly. That was the guy. That was the dude, man. I mean, and him and Marty Jannetty. There was this one. I think they had was it a tournament that they had, and they won the tournament? I don't recall. I don't know if you recall that.
I think
they had some sort of tournament for the tag titles, I believe.
I think that might have been the second time in like '95, because Lawrence Taylor was at ringside because they had the finals of the Rumble. Yeah, that was a terrible tournament, by the way. The teams in that were the shits. Well done, Heavenly Bodies. Christ.
Oh, it's like
that's another time for another podcast, guys.
Yeah, you know what? I think his partner was actually Bob Holly, if I'm not mistaken.
He was. Yeah.
Yes, Spark, or was it like Sparkplug Bob Holly back then?
Bob Sparkplug Holly. Originally Thurman Sparky Plug, but
oh yes.
Jesus God. But my favorite version of the Kid is probably a year later when he totally hit his stride in the company, and we were just talking about bringing this match up off air. Bret Hart and the 1-2-3 Kid main eventing that Monday Night Raw. To this day, people still talk about it. It's always on lists of like best Raw matches of all time, and it deserves to be because it truly is a timeless kind of match. It pulls in so many fans of different styles. It incorporates some aspects of lucha, technical, of course, with Bret Hart, people with psychology because of Bret Hart selling it. That match has something for everybody, and the fact that you have Jim Ross thrown in with the zaniness of Macho Man, that is like the fucking cherry on the sundae for that match for me. That's my favorite version of the Kid, though. The Bret match version.
Oh, man. It has to be probably... I'd probably have to really think about it, but I'm 99% positive it's probably my favorite 1-2-3 Kid match. Now, I'm going to go on a limb and say it is my favorite 1-2-3 Kid match ever. For those of you who own the network who's never seen it, I want to say it happened sometime after WrestleMania 10, which would have been like 94, and it was the main event on Raw. And I thought this was unique because, number one, it's 1-2-3 Kid. How often do you see him in a main event spot? Number two, he was fighting Bret Hart, who both of these guys were baby faces outside of like Warrior and Hogan at WrestleMania 6. I don't remember too many times babyface fighting babyface on television. So yeah, it was a big thing, and the match absolutely was phenomenal.
Yeah, like Jay's right. Anybody that hasn't seen this match, and we got a lot of pallies, like our buddy Michael from Bear Club. He just started watching in like the last 6 or 7 years. This is like, you've got to check this match out. If I ran a wrestling school, this would be one of the matches I would show, because not only does it have everything we talked about and more, we didn't even mention how like both the Kid and Bret in this match would tease little hints at a heel turn. They do little heel things just to keep the crowd invested, and that's something that's sorely missing today. You know what I mean? Just like teasing them. You know, like, I don't know. Is it me?
It is. No, you're absolutely right. It's so many. I mean, I could go off on a friggin' crazy tangent right now, but like you said earlier, not to go off topic, but you mentioned earlier we were supposed to do a Monday night, the first episode of Monday Nitro, and I went back and watched that show, and I was watching. Oh man, I don't even remember what match it was now. And anyway, regardless of whatever match I was watching, I remember the heel was doing all this stuff behind the referee's back, and these little small things are missing from their product today, where all these little heel moves are like in a tag team match, one guy distracting the referee, the other guy like, choking him out or something. Yeah. These are small things that go a long way as far as the psychology of a match, and I think they're missing from today's product, and they go a long way.
And I think, guilty as charged, we've probably both done it too when we watch current wrestling. And like you said, not to go off on a tangent, just touch on it. When we nitpick stuff, like we'll notice a little heel tactic in a match, and we'll automatically assume that means a heel turn. Whereas back in the day, like in this match, it was telling a story as opposed to a storyline, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know. And after in '94, This was the Brett match on Raw. I know he was supposed to be at WrestleMania 10 in that canceled 10-man tag match. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, because if you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon went too long, and they had to cancel that match. The latter match went on too long. I think HBK they were trying to go home, and HBK is like screw it, and they went on for like an extra 10 minutes or something, and
Thank
that's how the
God.
10-man got
Thank
canceled.
fucking God. Good call, Sean. But
Exactly.
that match would later be on like Raw the next night or something live. I think they
Yes.
gave it to him. But other than that, I mean, for the summer of '94, the kid was just out and about. I don't featured on SummerSlam '94. I know when I went to the King of the Ring '94 in Baltimore as a kid, he was eliminated by Owen Hart, and that baseball slide that Owen did to the kid before he even got in the ring still looks nasty to this day. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. So a lot of botchamanias and stuff. But the kid
Yeah,
could
I
definitely
actually
like he
don't
did.
remember. I don't remember that.
I remember like I don't know if you collect a lot of wrestling DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff, but I have the Best of Raw volume season 1 or something. It's like the '93 and '94 best of, and on the '94 there's a match with Owen and Kid, and it's really fucking good.
Oh,
I don't think it gets talked about. Yeah, and you can imagine how good just from the guys in it, how good that match probably is.
yeah. I have no idea because I don't remember seeing that match, but just based on what I know of Owen Hart and 1, 2, 3 Kid, it has to be good.
Those guys would have made a hell of a tag team, honestly. Fuck giving them Coco Beware and the new
Exactly, a
founders.
Jim Neidhart.
I don't know if the kid would have looked good in the Coco pants, but pull him up to his man boobs. Who knows?
Some
Yeah, but like
neon,
this, he
some
pretty
neon
much
pants.
he pretty much was stagnated for '94. I guess it was a case that they didn't have nothing to do with him. It seemed like they got him back to eating a lot more pins by mid to late '94. Would you agree? Like he was there to help put over new heels or something that would come in, not this up and coming babyface anymore. You know what I mean? Like it seemed like at the beginning it was like he had the world at his hands, and then at the end of the day, it's not like it was bad. He was just doing his job. He was a company guy. You know what I mean? And look at him.
Exactly.
Perception's reality. You're going to bring in even a Waylon Mercy. Dan Spivey was huge. You would assume he would beat the kid just based on appearance. But,
Damn, you just dance. I mean, Will and Mercy, same guy, but holy shit, that's like a blast from the past.
I mean, you're talking to
You
a
know what I
guy when
mean?
he's bored, sits around and watches UWF matches, and Dan Spivey was prominently featured
Jeez.
in the world title picture in the UWF. So, my
Actually,
nerdiness has no boundaries.
Dan Spivey, or I keep saying Dan Spivey, but Will and Mercy, he was basically like the earlier version of Bray Wyatt, even a little bit. Can you
Bray,
see
yeah.
that?
Did you see the interview where Bray came out and said he based part of his character off that? Like he admitted it, and you could see
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah.
I thought his
Especially in the
character was
beginning,
based.
like Bray wore the white pants, the slacks, and the Hawaii. Like he totally
Yeah,
wore the exact. It's like he was cosplaying, pretty much. He just put on a hat.
yeah. I feel like both characters took from Pacino. Was it not Pacino? De Niro from Cape Fear. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah. Yep. That's what
Yeah.
it was based off of, apparently, the gimmick.
Yeah. Right.
But speaking of dirty heel tactics, after the kid would win the belts with Bob Holly, like we talked about earlier, in '95, they started making a storyline where you'd start seeing friction between the kid and Ramon. If you remember, like he would unintentionally cost Ramon matches, and they'd tag up, and there'd be. I remember in your house, it was babyface versus babyface team. It was the kid and Ramon versus the Smoking Guns, and like kid did something, or like kid attacked Billy Gunn after the match or something, and they kept teasing it until finally, I think it. After, by the way, a great match with Hakushi at SummerSlam '95 that goes overlooked. That match is awesome. I recommend it. After
Yes.
that, though, where Kid was still babyface. At Survivor Series '95, right before Survivor '95 on Raw, the Kid was a special guest referee, if I'm correct. Ramon and Sid. Was that the
Yes.
match?
He was. Yeah, he was a special guest referee, and if I'm not mistaken, for this match, is this when he like quick counted?
It is. Yep.
Okay, yeah, and that's when you found out. I think that he well, no, I think this was Survivor Series, right? So later on, wasn't he like the surprise guy on the $1 million team? Was that how it played out?
Yeah, something like that. He was on one of the heel teams as a surprise. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
it was the $1 million team. Like they said they had a surprise, and then it ended up being him. And then I remember like after he came out, like Razor Ramon came out of nowhere and chased him. And then they got rid of Razor Ramon or whatever. But yeah, he was the surprise guy on the $1 million team. And yeah, that was it. I think if I'm not mistaken, this is the same year that Rock made his debut. I think I have this on VHS actually.
This is the same year, I think, a month before. Remember the British Bulldog turned heel on Diesel? And, like, Bulldog and the Kid were, like, two of my favorite guys. So in a month, WWF broke my fucking heart. Within a month's time. Yeah, I was really fucking bummed out when this happened as a kid. I didn't cry. I swear I didn't cry. I might have cried, guys. Probably did. I was a little kid. But this sucked. This sucked. And you know what? Looking back, bad move. Would you say it was a bad move?
Yeah, it's business, man. It's back then. It was just they did it with a lot of guys. So I don't know. I don't know if it was necessarily a bad move. It's hard to. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. But, then the Kid would, he'd be healed. This led to the payoff for this month-long feuds after the Kid costing Ramon the title against Goldust at the Royal Rumble. The next month, it was the Crybaby match, Jay. This was the swan
Oh
song
God.
for the most part of the Kid in WWF till we'd see him again later. You want to take it? Because this match was...
I honestly don't remember the match, and why the hell was it called the Crybaby match? I forgot. What was the gimmick? Was it a gimmick match?
It was a gimmick match where the loser would have to wear a diaper and put a bottle in their mouth. And I wished I was
Oof.
making this up. And you guys in 2017 bitch about the storylines now. This is what we watched
Exactly.
every week, and we didn't complain. We just sucked it up and watched our Crybaby matches. And this is what we got. And the match, you're right, the match itself, it was a fine match. Just the gimmick of the match, looming over it, just ugh. And then of course the Kid gets the diaper, and they put the baby powder on him, and it was Jesus Christ. But he took it. He bit the bullet. He was a company guy, like we said time and time again. For all the the demons Sean Waltman has, all the guys back in '95 in this day were partiers. Don't let them kid you, except maybe Bob
Oh
Backlund.
yeah.
He was the only straight laced guy. But he ate the pin, and obviously months later he'd follow his buddies down south into WCW when his contract ran out, and I took more money as all the guys were. It was a business
Sure.
move, and he wanted to be with his friends because the Clique, as documented at nauseum, wasn't popular backstage. So that was the Kid's time in WWF. But later becoming Six. I don't know if we want to talk any Six. I just said we wouldn't go X-Pac. I don't know if you wanted to talk some Six tidbits before we get out of here tonight.
We could. There is one thing that I think we should for those who don't know, he X-Pac 1 2 3 Kid 6, whatever, Sean Waltman, whatever you want to call him, he should be credited with. For those people who watch New Japan and are fans of Kenny Omega or the Bullet Club, you notice that they do a thing with their hands, the Too Sweet. You also notice Diesel and Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon and all those guys did it. You notice the Outsiders did it, and NWO did it. Hogan did it in NW with WCW and NWO. This all originated really from 1 2 3 from Sean Waltman. It's the sign, if I remember correctly, it's the sign of the Turkish gang sign, and he's the one who introduced it. And apparently they used to do this off screen, and he started doing it off screen, and then they just started doing it on screen one day, and that was the birth of the Too Sweet. It's really a Turkish gang sign, I believe.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's the one who gets credit for that.
I've heard that. He said that on an interview. Was it Ollie and Sam or whatever?
No, I heard it in a Kevin Nash and Scott Hall shoot. It was a shoot interview
Oh,
that
nice.
it was like an RF shoot interview. They said that.
There was another shoot there where, like, remember the one where it was like X-Pac and Kevin Nash like drunk, like they're drinking wine or something.
Oh,
And
I think it was like a U shoot or something.
yeah, and like they brought that up and they were like, "Oh, we stole it from Brett. It was Brett's thing. Everybody stole it from." So I don't know who to believe on that.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, I hear conflicting stories from the same people. Like Nash will say something and they'll say something else about it. So I don't know.
Well, Bret Hart, I remember because I'm a ridiculous Bret Hart mark. Bret Hart did something similar to that. It's hard to say it over
He
audio,
did more
but
like the devil horns after he'd win a match. Remember?
exactly,
He'd
that's
stand
exactly
on
what
the
he did.
turnbuckle. Yeah, it was
Correct. Yeah, it was a devil horn. Devil horns really is what we do. But X-Pac, they had the thing in the middle, whatever you want, with the 3 fingers in the middle.
Close your eyes real quick, Jay. This is going to be really hard to picture. Picture Bret Hart
Okay.
listening to and enjoying any form of music. I
That's
can't picture
nothing.
Bret Hart
I
like
got nothing.
nodding his head to anything, like getting down to any, like I don't have time for music. I'm
Maybe
all-
classical music.
maybe while he's training guys or something. It's got to be wrestling,
He's like,
hockey.
yeah,
Oh God, but
drawing his art. He was a big time artist.
I would say that Six during his entire run in WCW was either A, coked out, or B, drunk. Every time. And unless he was maybe
Or both.
not working a match every time, but every time you'd see him sitting in the crowd or with an come on. But that's okay.
I
David Lee Roth, the singer from Van Halen, he was better when he was drunk. We tried to clean up and get sober. The producer made him go out and get liquor, made him relapse because he was terrible when he tried to do it sober. You know what I mean?
Was it that WCW was so god awful that these guys were just there for a paycheck and just to get rid of everything, they were just getting coked up and liquored up just because WCW was that bad? Because I feel like everybody